Mayor, I also think that the governing body, when we discussed in executive session legal options earlier this evening, also came to a discussion that I think there's a direction that the governing body is going to take regarding the condemnation or non-condemnation, if I'm correct. And maybe you want to speak to that briefly before I get started. Because like you said, that's one of the significant issues tonight. And I think there was ultimately a direction that it
yeah,
could go.
all right, council reminds me, we did, clearly we had a discussion during the legal session. Joe, you need some 3-in-1 oil on that door. Clearly we had a discussion in a legal session about what the options were for a township committee with or without the use of the word condemnation. We can take the recommendation of the planning board as it is right now, or we can modify that recommendation back to the planning board whereby we remove the word condemnation from it. In either case, there are some definite advantages and definite disadvantages to the retailers. And, again, the council is going to explain that as well. But Fred, you want to explain the benefit of condemnation? Or
Right. I think what we're going to do, Mayor, is there's been a lot of questions about affordable housing plan and what this all means, and there's been a lot of statements that the committee has forwarded to me to just give the opportunity for the public to understand some of the statements that have been made, so that we step back for a minute and go through the affordable housing process and the settlement. But I also believe, Mayor, to your point about whether the governing body would take the recommendation of the planning board, I'll go back through that. If the planning board just, in this process, makes a determination if the property or the zone qualifies for an area in need of redevelopment, and the law requires, we'll go back through this in a few minutes, as to whether you have to disclose if there's a condemnation option or non-condemnation. The governing body has discussed this, and if I'm correct, the action the governing body would like to take later on this evening is for non-condemnation for the Pine Plaza site and the area. We'll go through how they come to this type of decision, but what that means is, just to start, the questions about whether there was never any type of agreement to take or interfere with any landlord-tenant relationships at Pine Plaza. Through this process, some things have come to light that were never the intentions of the governing body or the planning board. So with that, we discussed various legal options, and it's my understanding, if I'm correct, to the mayor and township committee, that later on this evening, for the record, we're going to clarify that and take action that it's a non-condemnation area. That condemnation is not, in fact, it was never intended to occur. We'll give you the reasons why it was part of consideration, but it wasn't for Pine Plaza. And the last thing the governing body wants to do is in any way get involved in any type of discussions between the landlord or future owner of Pine Plaza, and therefore they're going to go forward later this evening with a resolution, hopefully that would say non-condemnation. That's the consensus of the governing body this evening. So that we're all clear about that, because that's the #1 question that I was asked to look at. But I also would say that this has a lot to do with how did we get here, and we've been discussing this publicly since December, but it doesn't mean that everybody has to be here or was here since December. So the mayor and township committee asked me to just step back and explain to everybody how we got here and what it means, and maybe also address some of the concerns that have been raised out there. And I apologize if my back is to the governing body. So first, we, from Fair Share, there's a settlement agreement with Fair Share Housing. The reason why there's a settlement agreement with Fair Share Housing is back in 2014, the Supreme Court had the courts take over affordable housing and the compliance of affordable housing. What that means is, if you as a municipality do not have a fair share of affordable housing available, what that means is a builder can come in and demand, override zoning, override your township committee, your planning board, and say, we want affordable housing here, we can help you. We'll build a high-rise development with market units to pay and supplement affordable units. So all municipalities, except for a handful, at least in Morris County, they want this certification from the court that says we're compliant with affordable housing. Because if you don't have it, you're at the mercy of the court and builders to develop your land for you. This governing body and other municipalities throughout the state have been in litigation for the last 6 years. Out of all the municipalities, there's been one trial. It was down in Mercer County. It went on for 3 months. There was one decision. Didn't go very well for the group of municipalities that participated, and there was an obligation that the court came up with, a number of units that a particular town had to come up with. So that decision and the special master in that court, that was forwarded up to Morris County, and at the time Judge Norgard took those numbers, took the facts of each particular town, and that same special master computed what every town's obligation would be. Now,